Hyperpo is pleased to present 40 Days 40 Fintechs, an initiative under its Include Everyone program, as it continues to lead the way in advocacy for the creation and dissemination of technology that enables financial inclusivity. The 40 Days 40 Fintechs is shining a spotlight on those that are breaking down digital barriers and bringing millions more on the continent into the transactional space and transforming their lives for the better.
Pivot Payments, first and foremost, we define ourselves by our ambition. We're building a neobank. That we envisage to address the banking needs of the export labor in the diaspora. And what do I mean by this? We have a lot of labor export who we popularly call the kadamas here. When we looked at them and looked at what their needs are, what their challenges are, they're alien when they're in their countries where they're working, in terms of access to financial services. So they're neither fully banked where they are, nor are they fully banked where they are back home in our countries like Uganda. And so we looked at what are other challenges apart from having access to financial services. When they send money home, first of all, how do they send money home? It's hard to come by a direct service that sends money home. Number two, what's the cost of sending money home if they're able to send money home? It's really high, almost up to between $5 and $10 to send money home. Number three, if they've been able to send money home and they've borne the cost of sending money home, when they send it back home, it's misappropriated, it's lost. We've had lots of cases of depression. We've had money's lost. We've had suicide rates developing, and so that is the need for us to come in and solve this situation. So in building a neobank, Pivot Payments is defined today as an ambition, with an ambition to build a neobank, but we started out as a payment services provider, and then slowly we are evolving into a neobank. So what it's able to do is when someone accesses our product, they're able to, one, save, spend or send money in their mobile application. It's accessed through a mobile app called Pivot Pay, which is available on Play Store and very soon on iOS. Right now in Uganda, we are proud to say we are soon getting 200,000 customers because we are just slightly under 170,000 customers. We are also opening up in Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, and Ghana. So our ambition is to be in 10 markets across Africa by the end of next year. We provide an application, a banking application, or a digital bank for especially export labor workers, popularly known as the kadamas. And when they access it, they're able to save their money in there because we've got a wallet. Number two, they're able to spend because in there they can pay bills directly for the people back home, things like utility bills, school fees, merchant payments, and so on and so forth. So you can find someone, say, working in Saudi Arabia or Qatar, Oman, or Dubai, paying school fees for their child back home, or paying power, yaka, for their mom or their dad or their husband or their wives. And then lastly, they can send money home. When they are sending money home, they're either able to send it to us, another Pivot wallet or bank holder, or they're able to send it to mobile money, if that is the choice, or they're able to send it to a bank account. So they can send to another person via bank account, or they can keep it in another bank account. So those, in a layman's language, that's what we do. We are slightly under 170,000 customers on our core banking. We have 16,800 customers on digital. Those are the ones who have downloaded the application. We have so far moved close to $14 million since we started. So that's what our numbers look like. The uniqueness with us is, first of all, we were born in COVID. So the effects of COVID, they literally, you know, the saying, forged by fire, you've been born out of fire. They were very hard circumstances. We couldn't move. And so we had to completely digitize. People couldn't come to offices because it was a total lockdown. But then in COVID, that's when the need for fully digital services was required, and so it gave us a drive. There were many lessons that we were learning how to digitize processes, because when you're talking about digitization, it's not just the product, but also processes, and also have a very intentional way to partner with people who have deeply entrenched integrations. So COVID, in a sense, shaped our sort of resilience, culture that we have as a company. We've been very resilient, we've been very tough. Being born in COVID means you have to fight to get a customer twice or 3 times as much as an ordinary person. And so for us, COVID paved a way to address the digital needs of that particular customer. So we haven't been, I don't want to say affected, we were actually born and harnessed by COVID. How is business going? I always say Alhamdulillah, because most businesses are closing today. Most businesses are downscaling. Most businesses have had to, either diversify their portfolio because of the business is not working for them. We have had to strengthen. We are actually growing into other markets. In the 3 years that we've been in, alive, this is our 3rd year, by the way. Full operations is 2 years. So in this 3rd year, what we are doing is expansion. So where you would think that we are actually becoming smaller, because we've had a need from our customers on the other side, that they have seen what we are doing for Uganda, and now the export labor or the migrant workers for other countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ghana, and so on and so forth are actually asking for the service. So we have expanded, or we are in the process of expansion. So for us, I would like to say COVID has harnessed us, it has grown us, it has shaped us. Yes, we are female founded. Yes, we are female led. I'm shy to say that we're not 50% of the composition. And there's a perfectly good reason for that. Women entering into this space, the technology space, is relatively new. I personally have been in the industry for this is my 14th year. So it's taken me some time myself to get here, but for the new ones, it's a transition phase, and so you'll find that the numbers are very small. So we are less than 50%. I can tell you offhand that my female staff is 8 of them, 8 out of 25. That is the core staff. When we're talking about field staff, I have over 2,000 people we employ indirectly, but out of the 2,000, again, we do not make the 50%. Why? Because, like I said, it's a transition phase for women to get into technology, for women to get into the space. However, when we go into our customers, this is where it gets interesting, because our customers are majorly female. When you look at the statistics today, out of the close to 7 million migrant workers in the Middle East, yes, you have more women, because they are domestic workers. They are the people who work in supermarkets, sales staff, as support staff. So in terms of what our constitution is like for the female-related customers, we are close to 70%. And for me, I feel that's a personal achievement. It's a validation. So in terms of financial inclusion, if I'm able to equip my customers in the diaspora, when they send money home, they are providing for their families. They are contributing to the economy. They are now starting to invest, because they've asked if we've had any arrangements for investment. So for us, that's a validation when it comes to, one, female inclusion, but most importantly, that's a validation when it comes to financial inclusion. Of course, I've always come across as someone who is very strongly opinionated when it comes to Uganda's fintech and the regulation. There's 3 things I really look at. The industries, it's in infancy stage. We're not as clearly as advanced as Kenya. We're not as digitally advanced as Nigeria. That's number 1. Number 2, we've had to have a transition phase between the different players in the market. At a certain point, telecoms were looking at fintechs as competition. Now they're looking at them as partners. At a certain point, banks were also looking at fintechs as competition. Now they're looking at them as partners. So it's in its infancy stage. You have more than 150 fintechs in Uganda. How many of them are licensed? Only 14. What does that tell you about the availability? So there's 2 things. Availability of the fintechs, but also maturity of the fintechs. Most of them are in their infant stages. When we're talking about who are the who's of who's in the industry, it's less than 20 of them. Yes, and most of them, 50% of those 20, which are 10, are the old players. Craft Silicon, Pegasus, True Africa, and off the fingers. These are people who have been in existence for a long time. When I come to regulation, this is where, for me, it gets very personal. You have a relatively new regulation, all right, that is being, how can I say, operationalized or enforced. But the enforcing has gaps. It's not equitable. And when I say this, I'm sorry. I'm actually not apologetic for saying this, because it's on ground. You have people who are granted provisional licenses, and then you have those where the bank has had to recall to say, we are no longer giving provisional licenses. We are giving full licenses. But the people you gave conditional licenses are the people who are advanced already, and they have the capacity to be fully regulated. But they are the ones you give concessions to. Now, is it equitable? No, it isn't. That is the first thing. The second thing, the law itself is very, I think, prohibitive, if I can say that. It's very financially punitive. When you look at fintech, when you look at the technology space, it's mostly by the young people. When you say, the minimum capital requirement for a fintech to be regulated is 250 million, and this is money to sit in a bank somewhere, there's a big question, where the gray area. These young people today who can afford $30,000 to sit, that's number one. When you're bringing in investment, I was just looking at the numbers. Uganda alone has attracted almost $255 million in investment. But when you look at Kenya, it's close to $1 billion. When you look at Nigeria, it's close to $2 billion. You have to ask yourself, what are they doing right that we are not? It goes down to the regulation. It goes down to the environment. Is it an enabling environment? Certainly not. It's very punitive. Is it a fast-forward thinking environment? It has gaps. It's questionable. When you look at the players, what are they doing in the industry to attract this investment? What are they doing to get regulation? Why is it that we're having it's them and us? The central bank, which is regulatory, is them and us attitude, number one. Number two, they are patched in a corner or on a pedestal that is bank-led regulation. The level at which you regulate a bank can be, but shouldn't be, as strict as you're regulating a fintech. If it came to it, tier them and say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. This is what we're doing, but this is the level of, or pair them up. We are still in a gray area. And so for the bank to come and say, we are having this standpoint, which is a clearly black and white, there's no gray area, when the industry is in the gray area, there's a problem. So our regulation, we need to have, I always say, have an incubation phase. We've not had the luxury of an incubation phase. We've had everyone and their mother who you want to partner with say, if you don't have a central bank license, I'm not going to give you business. Yes, we do not have that incubation period. And so you find that very many young people are actually moving to Nairobi. That's one thing. Let's look at, again, regulation, environment. Let's look at how we attract players in the industry. Today you have Google, you have Amazon, you have the big tech, what we call the big tech, setting up in Nairobi. When you look at them, how many people are they going to hire? Close to 100,000 techs over the next 3 years. If they are setting up in Nairobi, there's a question, why aren't they setting up in Uganda? What are we doing wrong not to attract these big techs here? Certainly the tax regime is very unforgiving and also unclear. The regulation regime is very strict. The environment in and of itself is not yet mature enough. So when you, the other day they were reading the budget, when you look at how much is being invested in technology, drill down and see where exactly are you investing in technology. Are you giving us subsidies as players? Number two, if we are bringing this level of investment, are we getting any type of tax concessions? If I'm investing same as a Chinese or even more, and they're getting a tax incentive, and I'm not getting a single tax incentive. So like I said, there's a lot we need to have. We need to get to a level where we're having the very uncomfortable discussions, very uncomfortable discussions. It may sound cliche, but knowledge is power. What the 40 days, 40 fintechs has gone and done is to give us knowledge. First of all, of the existing players and what they're doing. What that does is, for serious fintechs, when you know that someone else is doing something on the market, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You do not need to compete. There's always room at the top. So you've opened a door for information, but most importantly, you've opened a door for collaboration. Where you find, I am doing something, if a young person is building something, they don't have to go through the pains that I've gone through. They can actually just come and we partner, or I can go to someone bigger than myself and we partner. So for me, the most important thing that I see that you've done is opening the door to collaboration, because you've exposed. I mean, I didn't know someone is doing something in agriculture where they're paying farmers directly. There's so many things that you've done. So I didn't know most of this. But when you look at what you've gone and done, I'm thinking, okay, we can do something with these ones, we can do so. So the power of collaboration, the power of partnership is what you've harnessed with 40 days. For more information about our services, someone can go online and first of all, just type Pivot Payments, and we'll normally come at the top as Pivot Payments Limited, fintech in Uganda. Or you can go directly to the website, which is Pivot Pay TS, that is PIVOT. Pay is PAY, and then TS.com. That is pivotpayts.com. To access the product, you can go to Play Store and just type Pivot Pay. It's one word. Again, it's PIVOT PAY.
40 Days 40 Fintechs is presented in proud partnership with Crossleg Technologies, Modus Box, Moduloop Foundation, and Level 1 Projects.